A simple pot of boiling water can help you learn and teach about the science of steam. Now, any activity involving this level of heat needs to be supervised by an attentive adult. Steam and boiling water can do major damage, so be sure to be safe with this activity. It's intriguing to watch water boiling, and it brings out all kinds of questions. What makes the bubbles? Where does the steam come from? Why is the inside of the lid coated with water? All these questions are great starting points for science inquiry. With this simple demonstration, you can observe the water cycle. Here, you can see the evaporation. There's condensation on the lid, which is cooler than the hot water. And if you take the lid off, the water will precipitate down to the surface. It will even collect if you let enough of it fall, like this. Now, you may also want to evaporate a small amount of water on a warm surface, showing that water vapor, the water that evaporates, is not always visible, like it is here. Okay, so we're going to take a look now at this diagram of the water cycle. That steam we just saw is evaporation, so find that word on the cycle. The beating up on the lid, you remember the lid was a little bit cooler? That's condensation. And when it dripped off the lid, that's precipitation. Now, you can also explore distilling. Try mixing salt in the water you boil and see if the salt precipitates out. In other words, if it's in those drops that precipitate. You can explain that this is why certain equipment requires distilled water, so that impurities don't build up and clog openings on the equipment. Now, if you don't mind making a mess, you can even let a pot of oatmeal boil over to demonstrate the power of water that's changed from a liquid into a gas. I'm not going to do that today. Now, water has some qualities that makes biological life possible on Earth. The fact that it expands and thus floats when it cools into a solid state creates the climatic conditions from which life could emerge in our oceans. It also expands, as many other things do, when it's heated. Have an object float in room temperature water and see what happens when you add a drop of dishwashing soap. That's another thing you could do to see the properties of water. So from trains to steam engines to the characteristics of water, this unit offers many opportunities to integrate science into the unit. Instead of water, you could study friction. Now, friction has everything to do with the success of railroads. Rubbing your hands together briskly readily demonstrates that friction produces heat. Now, trains are so much more fuel efficient than trucks, largely because there's less friction with metal wheels on metal rails than rubber tires on concrete. That's also a reason why freight trains may require a mile or more to stop when braking. It's also why steam engines often carry sand to gain enough traction on the rails to begin moving. Now, those who want to get deep into science and engineering can even study metallurgy. Like science inquiry itself, the possibilities are endless. And we'll be back with more of Ramping Up Your English after this. This is a Ramping Up Your English book review. Are you looking for outstanding photography and a way to strengthen your English vocabulary? You'll have both in Seymour Simon's Book of Trains from HarperCollins Publishers. Each time you turn a page in this book, you're treated to world-class photography. One page features a train switching yard in Portland, Oregon. Most pages have written information about the picture you're enjoying and about trains in general. You'll encounter the precise vocabulary of train terminology. You'll also encounter language forms like present tense verbs and prepositional phrases. You'll see how objects are used to describe things by listing their parts. Mostly, though, you'll enjoy learning more about trains and about the various cars on the train. You're also likely to find the reading level understandable. Seymour Simon's Book of Trains is a beautiful book that offers an enjoyable way to learn more about trains. You'll have to get your own copy. I'm too attached to mine. For Ramping Up Your English, I'm John Letts. Welcome back to Ramping Up Your English. This is segment 3 of episode 32. We're using a content-based approach to help people who want their English to improve. If that's you, you're in the right place. Whether you're enjoying this program on the Ashland Home Network, Charter Cable, or watching it after going to our archives as video on demand, if you're viewing this program from a TV station outside of the Southern Oregon area, that's fine too. I'd like to welcome you to the program. I'd love to hear from you. You can contact me through my website, letscreate.org. You may have heard me say in earlier episodes that English is a crazy language. Well, it can sure seem that way when you're trying to learn it. Here are a few examples of what I mean. We watched a live program about people who live in Spain. Now, you should be seeing that on your screen, okay? Or how about this one? The bandage was wound tight around the wound. Then there's the farm that's used to produce produce. Or how about the trains consist of boxcars and flat cars. The dump was so full it had to refuse more refuse. Or how about it was time to present the present to her friend. The dove dove into the bushes. Or I don't object to the object being placed here. Now, these are all examples of words that are spelled exactly alike but pronounced differently depending on how they're used. They have very different meanings. You know, I once worked with a volunteer in my classroom who was from Spain, and one day she asked me how to spell live, L-I-V-E, I replied. Then how do you spell live, she asked. Well, I answered L-I-V-E, just like live. She looked at me like I was making up something to confuse her. Native English speakers learn early when the teacher spells read and read the same way. Now, here are a few more examples. They were too close to close the door. The wind was too strong to wind the sail. I had to subject the subject to more tests. Well, then there are words that sound alike but are spelled differently, and they too have distinct meanings. I heard the herd of buffalo before I saw it. How about I never read Mao's little red book? Or we rode the horse on the road. The runner's feet helped her accomplish a great feat. He led the team that found lead in the water. Now, you may not know enough English at this point to understand all these words. Try not to be overwhelmed by the idiosyncrasies of English. Sometimes it's just fun to play around with the language, as we're doing here. Moving from the beginning steps to higher levels of English is a huge overtaking. But if you enjoy each of those steps, then you'll have more fun with it, and you'll arrive at the same higher level as those who don't have fun with it. Being serious about improving English means engaging with instruction and practice, but it doesn't have to be a miserable experience. Now, I hope you've enjoyed these 32 episodes. If that's the case, I'm very happy about it on the theme of trains and railroads. I hope to take many more trips in the future on trains, and if you love these videos, check out my website for new bonus videos in the future. My website, letscreate.org. You'll find episodes of Ramping Up Your English there, as well as the language lessons and practice sets. You can also contact me through that website, and I'd love to hear how it's going for you in learning to improve your English through this program. Just click the Contact Us button. The website again is letscreate.org. You can watch all the episodes of Ramping Up Your English and even download them as video on demand by visiting archive.org/details/RogueTV. There's a sidebar on the right of the screen. Find the Ramping Up Your English or my name, John Letts. Click there, get right onto the programs that you want. Now we're changing themes now, but we're not going away. You can still watch Ramping Up Your English with our new theme of animals at 8 a.m. on Mondays and 7 p.m. on Thursdays. You can watch on channels 15 and 115 on the Ashland Home Network or on channel 182 on Charter Cable in Southern Oregon. Now, channels and schedules will vary in other areas of the country. Contact your local public access station for times, days, and channels. Ramping Up Your English would not be possible without RVTV and its supporters. The staff at RVTV has been vital in the programming and scheduling of the program, and they've been both helpful and encouraging. Now, even with all that support, this program would not be possible without the help of my crew. There are a great number of things that have to happen here for the program to exist, and my volunteer crew give up their time, effort, and talents to make it all happen. So I want to thank them. And I also want to thank you, our viewers. Without you, there's no reason for this program to exist. Now, you won't have to wait long before the next episode. Keep watching for the next episode of Ramping Up Your English. I'm John Letts.
You've been watching Ramping Up Your English, a support program for intermediate level English language learners. Learn more. Visit our website at letscreate.org. You can also watch or download today's program at archive.org/details/roadtv. Join us next time on RVTV Voices for Ramping Up Your English.
Okay, I'm stepping into Michael's time a little bit here, so I'm going to try to get this set torn down. Oh, they do? Oh, okay. Okay, that's great.